Hey guys, and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. I guess today we will be painting some flowers and I will be using some papers from this watercolor book I made myself. The entire process, how I made this one, is available for my channel members in real time. So you might want to check out the membership. If you do, there is a link in the description box. There are many videos there in real time, of course. And if you want to find out a little bit more about the membership, just follow the link in the description. So as I said, we will be painting some flowers, and I just got that paper from the watercolor book. I will glue it on top of this MDF board with washi tape, and also I did do my sketch earlier on just a regular printing paper, and I will now trace it onto this watercolor paper. Sketch will be available for download. There is also a link in the description box if you want to download it for yourself, trace it, and just join in the fun. When I'm finished with my sketch, I did get this kneaded eraser just to lighten my sketch slightly because the painting won't be dark and I don't want the pencil lines to be visible. Paper I'm using is Etchr. This is a cold pressed watercolor paper, 300 GSM or 140 pounds. It is also 100% cotton. I prewetted the paper and now just mixing in a little bit of the sky blue and some dark brown from my own sets of watercolors just to create this grayish tone, and painting in the entire paper. I'm just also gonna go on top of my flowers because I do want to create this grayish light layer. I don't want any white of the paper, and just adding it here and there, also adding some splatters. Since the paper is wet, that will all blend in together, but it will create a slight texture. Also, I added a little bit more of the pigment to the center part of one of my flowers. Now again, gonna mix in the same colors, sky blue and dark brown, but this time a lot more saturated, and paper is fully dry now. I left it to dry and I'm just going on top of those lines that I did for my flowers with one brush, adding very thin line. You can see I'm using very small detail brushes. And with the other brush that has just a clean water in it, I'm softening that edge and also adding a little bit more of the pigment to the petals. And of course you can do this by wetting each and single petal and then adding watercolor on the edges. It will bleed slightly inside if you're going to use very small detail brushes. Those brushes don't hold a lot of water, especially if they're synthetic, and it will just bleed where the water is. But for the first one, I decided to paint on a dry paper and then just soften the edge with a different brush. But as you will see later on, the other flower I will be painting by first prewetting the petal and then on the edge adding a little bit of the watercolor. Actually, a little bit, but quite saturated. Adding a bit more. I do want my edges to be quite dark, so that's where I'm adding the most of the pigment. And also that part where the stem is and those little leaves on the top of the stem, I'm gonna paint at the darkest, and the petals themselves are gonna be quite light. And for the second one, as I said, I'm first wetting the petal and then on top adding watercolor, and you can see that it's not bleeding too much because I'm using quite a small brush and there is barely any water or paint in it. It's quite small amount and it's not bleeding a lot, but if you use more paint in your brush, it will bleed a little bit more. So those edges between the petals are quite subtle. I'm not painting them all around. I'm just leaving also some parts a little bit lighter, maybe leaving some parts clear, not adding some parts of the lines between the petals, because I do want to create this very, very subtle effect, and I don't want harsh and strong edges between my petals. Also adding a little bit more of the pigment to the petals, especially at the top. Just adding and then softening with clean water. I'm gonna paint my stems very, very thin. I don't want them to be thick, so just have that in mind. Use a brush that you can paint a thin line with. And now those little leaves, as I said, they're gonna be quite dark, so I'm using very, very saturated paint here. Again, same colors, that's sky blue and dark brown. And also for the center of that left flower, again, I used quite saturated tone. At the top, I left some parts white. And also I decided to add just a tiny bit of the black to make some parts even darker, especially of the center of the flower. And at the top of the flowers, I will be adding a little bit of the black. Also, same thing for the other flower. And now I will just add a few splatters using same blue, mix of sky blue and dark brown. And I don't want those larger splatters to go onto my flowers, so I'm just picking them up with a paper towel. You can put a paper towel on top of your flowers. And for the right one, I don't want any splatters on top of it. And for the left one, I did want to add a couple of splatters. And now with this smaller brush, I'm adding very, very tiny small splatters. And now I don't mind if they go on top of both of the flowers. And with that, I'll be finishing off this painting and of course this video. Thank you a lot, guys, for watching, for all your support. If you do like it, please hit the like button, share it and comment. If you haven't still, please do subscribe to my channel. There are lots and lots of tutorials there. Maybe consider joining my membership. There is a link in the description if you want to find out a little bit more about that. And don't forget, the entire video, how I made this watercolor book, is available for my channel members. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope I'll see you next time. Bye!